Okay, I'll keep it very simple. I've been given about 15 minutes. Today you could talk anything about digital, and I've been given a topic on unlocking digital transformation. So I'll walk you through the keywords. I've just got about 6-7 slides, so I'm not going to put you to early sleep. I can assure you that. Then let me give you 2 examples, very quick, easy to understand examples. Then I'll give you at the end of the talk some takeaways, some 3-4 questions that you can ask yourself on what your business, how you can transform your business, or how you can digitally transform your business. So that's the format of the session. Very simple, very easy to follow. Anywhere, if you have any questions, please interrupt, but I reserve the right to answer the questions. Figure out how do I move this? Yes. So what is digital? There are multiple definitions. Every you search in YouTube, I just did a search 2 days back on digital and then digital transformation on YouTube. Probably more than all the Bollywood and Hollywood songs, you have more definitions, more videos on these 2 keywords. So this is one that I really like. What is digital? So digital is not about doing another website. It's not about another e-commerce site. It's not writing a mobile app for your application doesn't make it digital. So if that is a thing, then you can just say we are enabling IT for it, which we have been doing for the last 20 years. So one of the best definitions that I could see, which really got the gist of this, was this. It is the pace of the change that's occurring in today's world because of rapid adoption of technology. That's the simplest way in which you could think of digital. The keywords are pace of change and rapid adoption of technology. And this goes without saying, if you are not adapting to the rapid pace of technology, then your competition is going to do. So how are you able to adapt to it? Though, because it is rapid change of technology, you got to have technology solutions. That's what makes it digital. A lot of things we'll see how doing digital is also about doing things which you couldn't have done before. Like classic examples, it's kind of a cliche, but anyway, to drive the point, I'll bring it. It's not that we didn't have car taxis before Ola and Ubers. But what Ola and Uber could do when they did 3, 4, 5 years back was purely possible because of technology. If not for technology, they couldn't have done that. They could have got the cars, they could have got you to call or do something and then connected. But then the speed in which you are able to pair a rider and a driver is phenomenal because of technology. What goes through being Ola or Uber, if you go through Facebook scaling conference talks in YouTube, you will see the amount of technology that's gone into Uber doing this. Each minute they are generating like trillions of gigabytes of data, huge amounts of data. They actually can predict much better than the civic service or police department on what is in traffic, where there is a traffic jam. Of course, Android does that now, but when Uber started, they were having this information much better than anybody else. These were real-time data. So as we are carrying our smartphones, we are sending them signals. So how are you able to adapt to this pace of change with technology? That's what makes it digital. This is another beautiful slide from Forrester, that summarizes this particular thing. I thought it's the best way to get this point across. There are, like the digital divide we used to earlier say, people who are connected to internet and people who are not connected to the internet, the big divide. You have digital prey and you have digital predators. You got to choose which one are you. If you're thinking about your company's things as products and services, that's what you're offering, then you're going to become a digital prey. Think of many things. Music industry is a very classic example. They were thinking they are giving you the CDs or giving you the gramophone record, giving you the cassettes. That's what they were thinking. They were in that industry. But it so turns out that you are listening to music not for you don't care about the CD or the cassette. You care about the music that's there, because that's giving you an experience. That's what you count today. Today, look at, until about 2 years back, most of the musicians, including the Ilaiyaraajas, A.R. Rahmans of the world, were not making any great monies of their album. YouTube has started giving them some revenue, streaming has given them some revenues, but that aside. But why you're listening to them is for an experience. In abroad, in the Western markets, most of the revenue that the music albums, music artists were doing, were in the road shows, were in the events that they are doing, and the tickets pricing at hundreds of dollars that you buy and go to those events because you want an experience. There's a beautiful book by a person called Kevin Kelly. If you're interested in this, check out this book. It's called Inevitables. He talks about 8 to 12 trends in the industry overall, not necessarily in technology. That's already happening. It's kind of inevitable to happen. The book is by Kevin Kelly. It's a wonderful read. It's a bit like a white paper at times, but then he talks about excellent things. The thing that really impressed me out of what he talks about is the experience. If you start thinking about experience, what your customer is getting with you, then that changes the whole episode. We'll talk about examples. Even if you're in a dress, if you're thinking I'm selling dresses, I'm selling costumes, I'm selling shirts, pants to your customer, then that's not the experience. The customer is actually buying that dress probably to impress somebody or to win an interview or do a presentation, whatever it is. Look at that. That is the outcome. So first is the experience. When he walks in, is he treated well? Does he feel good? Because you can buy it online. Today, I yesterday got a canvas shoes in Amazon for $600, which could have costed really probably 1,500 if I walked into Bata or any of the, and more other things. But then, that doesn't give me the experience. Amazon unfortunately can't give me the experience of wearing that shoes, checking it out, seeing myself in a mirror. And if I go to a spectacle shop, I take selfies with 10 different specs and just buy probably one. And all the 9 I could use in my Instagram later. But then, the point is the experience. And then think about the outcome. The customer is buying a dress for a particular outcome. So it's experience, it's outcome. Finally is the desire. What desire of the customer are you meeting? You could think about, I'll give you 2 examples if you think this doesn't make sense for me. I'm in an industry which doesn't interface with customer, there is no experience, there is no outcome. I'm selling B2B, I'm selling to government, I'm selling it to defense. Every industry, if you look at it, even including defense, there is going to be an outcome. There is an experience because only people buy from, even in defense, it's the people inside the defense department, they are buying your concept or your technology or whatever you're giving. And people, when there are people, immediately experience comes in. So it's experience, outcome, desire. If these are the 3 keywords if you're looking at in your business, then you can become a digital predator. Startups think of this way, inevitably. Think of any startup. They don't think of a product or a service today. They only think of, not all of, if they do all the 3 then they are successful, but they start thinking at least with one of them. So what is digital? So we saw digital prey. Then comes the question on what is digital transformation? Again, there are multiple definitions, but the most important thing you have to remember is it's business transformation. Digital transformation is not the CIO's problem in my opinion. It's the CEO's problem, it's the board problem. If a company thinks digital transformation is only a CIO problem, then they are doomed to failure because that's not how it works. CIO has a fundamental role to play in this, a very, very key role. But then it doesn't start or it doesn't end with the CIO. It starts and ends with the board of the company. It starts with and ends in the direction the board sets and the CIO to execute. So it's a business transformation. That is what digital transformation is all about. Again, like we saw in the earlier slide, leave your product service-centric mindset. Focus on customer outcomes. And lastly, this is very important. How do you do this? To do customer experience or customer outcome. Think of from an outside-in perspective. That most of the time has really helped me to look at this with much better clarity. Like the dress example I was giving. You are not selling a particular dress which is hanging there, etc. You are selling so that the customer wears it and then achieves something. From his perspective, think of it. So the customer is not walking into your showroom and say, I'm going to pick up something in the 3rd shelf which is put up very beautifully. That's not how he or she is walking into your showroom. He or she is walking in with maybe my marriage reception. I want to buy a dress for that. That's the thinking they are coming in. So think from the customer's shoes. It's very easy told, but it's extremely difficult to do. We'll see 2 examples. Because of time, I've kept the examples very simple and also just 2. Again, as I said, anytime, just interrupt me. How many of you have seen these tennis rackets? And you remember, you know the brand? Yeah, that's the name. You have that bat, you have that racket. Okay. So I think the cheapest one cost about $200 if I'm right. So this is not, there is a USB port, that's the point I'm driving at. This is a tennis racket with a USB port, and it's like Microsoft about 10-15 years back, everything that was seen was put up a .NET thing. In one of the presentations, I think in 2002 or 3, I made a presentation that was called MS-DOS.NET. So everything became .NET at one point of time. So today, every company, for everything they look at a problem, the nail that they've got is IoT. So everything they want to put IoT, whether it's needed or not. So this is not yet another company which is putting USB port on a tennis racket just for the sake of it. That's not what they are doing here. This is a company called Babolat, as rightfully one gentleman told. It's a 100 years plus old company, 150 years if I'm right, 1870s company in Lyon, France, who make one of the premium tennis rackets you could buy. Nadal and all the other premium tennis players use their rackets. It's a 5th generation company, very successful. And if you know, in tennis there are only 30 rules, I was told. And this company was influential in adding one rule into that game after probably centuries. The rule that said, for now the players can collect data about their play, and that can be viewed only by them. That was the 31st rule that was added in tennis, and this company was instrumental for that. That company is called Babolat. And the way they didn't add this USB port or whatever technology for the sake of it. They actually wanted to monitor, and even that is not the objective which will come. They put sensors, accelerometer, gyrometer and all that in your tennis racket. You can't add too much weight because the players obviously don't like too much weight. All put together with a battery, with a Bluetooth, and all that is less than about, I'm told, like 30-40 grams. And what it can do is, when a premium tennis player, a professional or anybody else, if you can afford that racket, plays, the spin in which the ball comes, the speed in which you are hitting, and the angle in which you are hitting is all being collected, something like this. And this is only their first version. I believe there's a new version which they are working. This only tells the data. Probably doesn't make sense for us, but players like Nadal have said, this is the first time I'm opening my eyes and playing a game. That's what the first time when he used one of these rackets, and he's supposed to have given that code. What it actually does is, the player has a feel, especially professional players who are playing it like 7 hours, 8 hours a day. But then you go and ask them, why did you play that stroke this way? What happened? Why did you, and what did you do? It's very difficult for them to quantify. And then for a coach to tell, it becomes really difficult. That's what this technology allows them to do. It says the ball came in this angle, this speed, this velocity, and you did this, which you could never ever have done before. And that's what this tennis racket allows you to do. And today Babolat sees themselves as not a tennis racket company, because, like, you know, everybody, a company in France obviously will be manufacturing it in China, and it doesn't take a genius to predict that Chinese will make it much better and cheaper in like 5-10 years time frame, like it happens with everything else. So if Babolat had just said, okay, we are making rackets and we have a premium brand, we'll just be with it, they're going to lose the entire business to China in no matter time. But today they see themselves as a tennis coaching, as a tennis expert company. Tennis racket is an incidental thing. You buy tennis racket from them, but that's just incidental. Today this software comes free, but eventually they see themselves, you are subscribing to the software and the racket is just free. They will probably put it in every place, Babolat rackets, in those premium places. You just pick it up and play, but if you want the data, you pay them. See how the whole business is. What I want to appreciate is not putting this USB port, not doing this mobile app, which is all easy, is that they have transformed their business. They have seen an inside out. What was making an hardware, a tennis racket, is now looking purely as a coach, as a software, as an intellectual, as a knowledge-based company. No company could have been far from knowledge from a tennis racket company, if you could think. That's one example that is happening. So this is another thing. This is my own example. It's only fictitious now, but I want to make the point. I'll explain what it is. If you think, again, most of the things when I meet people, they say, my business can't be transformed. I have this problem. I'm a B2B, like I said earlier. Now, let's take an example of a company which is growing wheat. A company like Olam, which is like 23,000 customers, 70 countries, billions of dollars. They are the leaders in cocoa, coffee, so many other raw material. If they just produce these things, but a company like that, not necessarily them, how can they digitally transform? They are just producing these food materials. But what's possible is if they see themselves to be a human energy, human nutrition company, if they start seeing themselves as that, they can they can have a wearable device, whatever it is. Today I've just shown an Apple Watch as an example, but then you could have whatever comes in the future, and they collect this data, and in real time, they can make a food for me using 3D printing, 3D food printing technology and so forth, that your blood sugar is so much, I will produce a wheat right now, just in time in your house, with this particular nutrition that you need. Or your blood pressure is too high, let me produce a wheat material, which is custom made for you for this dinner, this meal. That you can't do today. Even companies like Blue Apron and others, they give you a package that comes in courier, you can make a particular dish yourself. Even they can't do something that is as customized to you today in that instant. That is possible. If companies which are producing food starts thinking themselves to be a nutrition company, a human energy company, then they can transform themselves. How do you do it? Technology, obviously. Using all this fitness band, you collect this data and you use technologies like 3D food printing, which is just coming, and you custom print a food for you on that time and then that you can eat. And you can give it some feedback. How many of you have seen this TV thing called Black Mirror? It's on Netflix now. It's called Black Mirror. If you are interested, please watch it. It's 4th season. The first season is the most interesting one. But if I start talking about it, I think Saiba will send me down. But one of the episodes, they were talking about how you can have personalized dating service. So where they put people to live together for a couple of months, hours, the system decides how long they live, and they come up with parameters, and they finally say that 99.8% accuracy we can predict who's going to be your life partner. So that's the customization of the relationship. But think about what you can do on the food. So a company which is producing grain can actually become a nutrition company. Olam, incidentally, has built a OFS, I read from the website, a financial system, information system. But what every company does that, they find out information about their suppliers, partners, everything. But the interesting thing, they had hundreds or thousands of farmers, which they didn't have any idea who were their farmers. Now with this system, they were able to collect, and with some GPS also given in mobile, they were able to collect data about all their partners, right from the farmer to the supermarkets that buy from them, entire supply chain. And because of that, they were able to offer them financial products like loans, advances, insurances, crop insurance and all that. The security is obviously the crop that they are growing. Earlier they couldn't do it because they didn't have any information. Whether the farmer is lying, is he producing really, is he producing correctly, is he producing what the market needs? It becomes extremely difficult. But with collecting this data and thinking themselves to be a data company, they are able to do that. So lots of examples around. So finally, so we have seen what is digital transformation, it's business transformation, and we saw 2 examples. Finally, how do you go about doing this? We'll talk a little bit on that, how do you do this with examples in the panel, where we have 2 more experts. But the most important thing is, the successful digital transformation is you have to think big, you have to start small, and you have to scale fast. Think big, start small, scale fast is the mantra for digital transformation. But people, experts, say that there are 3 phases if you want to do digital transformation in your organization. It's you have to start experimenting at the edge, and at some point as this experiment keeps increasing, you're going to go collide with the core, you're going to rub some very powerful people in your organization. For that you need your CEO and your board support. That's why I said it's a board's problem, it's not a CEO's problem alone. So you will collide with the core, where the core has to reinvent itself, and finally reinvention of your entire route or your entire business. These are the 3 phases in which you can do digital transformation, and obviously it's not a one-time effort. You got to keep doing this on iteration, and the iterations are becoming faster because of technology. That's the, again, rapid adoption of technology keeps happening. Even after you have done a digital transformation, you've got to keep doing this. Lastly, I want to leave this slide. These are the questions you could ask yourself if you are starting a journey of digital transformation. Very simple questions, but if you think about it, it's going to be extremely difficult to answer these questions for each of your organization, but that's the starting point. What is the outcome that your customer desires? And is there one customer, multiple customers? Even if you think of B2B, that I'm selling to only one customer, if you think deeply, it's actually multiple customers. We were in my company, IT service company, we were supporting a lot of media companies. Inadu, Malaymalar, NDTV, Sakal and all that. We were thinking we were selling solutions to media companies. And that's how we were designing solutions. Only much later we realized our actual customer is the end user, the reader who's reading the paper. Though he or she is not paying us, the media company is what is paying us, but our success of the solution is based on the comment or the likes or the feedback the reader is actually giving. So he's our actual customer. So we've got to start thinking the business from that angle. How does the customer achieve the outcome today? And is there a better way? Is there a better alternative he or she has got? What is the alternatives? And can you build a profitable experience out of this? The keyword is experience. Lastly, how do you use technology to combine all this? So these are the 4 questions that you can ask yourself to do a digital transformation in your organization. So I think that's the time I've got. Let me wrap it up. If any questions, I can take 1 or 2 or we can discuss in the panel. Okay, thank you.